So many good games were released for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Literally hundreds. Amazing RPG after amazing RPG. The Street Fighter II and Mortal Kombat adaptations were super close to the arcade, with smooth controls and sweet graphics. No shortage of rad puzzle games, racing games, platformers, beat-em-ups, all near flawless executions of gaming masterpieces queued up to waste hours and hours of my childhood days. However, without dark, there would be no light. And the game in this video is a special type of darkness of the lamest kind. Mecarobot Golf was released in 1993 by TOHO and developed by Advanced Communication Company, or ACC, under the careful watcher producer Takahisa Takazaki. Where to even begin unpacking this one? TOHO had a few stinkers already under their belts, like Circus Caper and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Circus Caper was released by TOHO in the late 80s for the NES, and was a wander around and wonder what the hell to do game that took place at a circus. Jekyll and Hyde was a video game loosely based on the novel by Robert Louis Stevenson, also released by TOHO for the NES around the same time. Circus Caper or Jekyll and Hyde weren't the worst games I had ever tried, but hardly winners by any means. Coincidentally, or maybe not, Advanced Communications was the company who had developed the TOHO release of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so we're already kind of in a blind leading the blind situation here for Mecarobot Golf. ACC didn't always suck. They did have a few rad contributions with the reports of the RPGs Wise and Sansera Naga series for the NES that came out in Japan only. Not enough to make the grade, however, I guess, and Advanced Communications closed their doors at some point in '93, with a few employees going to work for other gaming companies like AIM, Konami, and Tecmo. There's very little info about Mecarobot Golf producer Takahisa online. The only other tidbit I was able to find for him was a credit as executive producer for a game called Super Godzilla, released for the SNES in '93. I'd found a copy of Super Godzilla several years back at a flea market and bought it for $1.99. It was both super hard to control the character, as well as hard to figure out the objective. But golf is totally different, right? Whacking a little tiny ball around a golf course is much easier than trashing a city with a giant monster. I mean, I realize we aren't working with the A squad of the video game world here, but it's also not like we're looking for a hole-in-one or anything. So what happened here? Mecarobot Golf was originally released in Japan for the Super Famicom as a game called Serizawa Nobu Birdie Try. Serizawa Nobu is a Japanese professional golfer, winning the Japan Golf Tour 5 times. He represented Japan at the World Cup in '91 and was perhaps the Japanese answer to Jack Nicklaus in the '90s. Now, I'm not really sure how popular golf was or is in Japan. The internet said the United States seems to have twice as many golf courses as Japan does, adjusted for population. One thing that is certain, the number of people in North America in the '90s who would be stoked that the Japanese golfer Nobu has his own game is probably a number approaching 0. But who to fill his place? Jack Nicklaus already had his own game, and Tiger Woods or Happy Gilmore were still years away. Enter Eagle. No, not Uneagle. Eagle, the robot golfer. Nowhere during gameplay was there any storyline or backstory mentioned. However, I was able to find the backstory online, which perhaps was printed in the instructions or on the box or something originally. The legend unfolds. Mecarobot Golf takes place in the near future, or perhaps a parallel dimension, where humanoid robots are super good golfers, among other things, yet considered second-class citizens. Eagle is a better golfer than any human, but has been banned from participating in the world's pro golfing tournament due to discrimination. A rich benefactor purchased Eagle and built a golf course for him to practice on. Not exactly an Isaac Asimov novel or anything, but way more backstory than I've ever heard from a golf game. The title screen of Birdie Try and Mecarobot Golf are basically identical, as is, well, the entire rest of the game. ACC basically just cut Nobu and pasted Eagle. There are a few small differences, like the golf course is called Lakeside Golf Course in the original, and Hyper Golf Course in Mecarobot Golf. The lady who is at the desk is Asian in the original, and Caucasian in Mecarobot Golf, as are the golfers you play with. After the title screen, you see an animation of a guy digging for some reason. If you wait, it'll eventually advance to the next screen, or you can push a button to skip it. The next is an overview of the golf course. You can scroll left or right to check out all the holes. Once you're done looking at that, the game puts you in front of the clubhouse, I assume. I kind of thought it was weird the game doesn't advance to the next screen automatically till you push a button here. Maybe Mecarobot Golf is giving you just one more chance to decide to play a different game. New Game lets you create a new profile, or you can continue if you've already created one. I do have to give ACC credit here, because if you choose to continue, it starts you at the exact shot you last saved at. Most games out around 93 would plop you at the start of the hole you were last playing, or maybe even the start of the whole course when loading a saved game. So, nice work, team. If you pick New Game, you gotta enter your birth month for some reason, and your name. If you already have 4 profiles and try to make a 5th, the game goes into an infinite loop of asking for your name unless you press the back button. Once your credentials are in, you have the choice of 4 sets of clubs. You can't change your clubs unless you make a new profile, so choose wisely. The clubs on the left with the little bunny club covers are the easiest to shoot with, meaning the shot meter moves slowest, but the ball doesn't go very far. The clubs on the far right shoot the ball the farthest, but the meter moves super fast, and they are a bit trickier to hit the ball with. The other 2 are in between in terms of ease in use and distance. Next, you can choose Lesson, Competition, or Driving Range. Lesson and Competition are basically the same mode, but Eagle makes helpful little comments before you play the holes in Lesson. In Competition, he doesn't offer any help, and is actually kind of a dick about it. If you choose Competition, you have the choice of playing with Eagle or with family members. I assumed at first with family members meant multiplayer, but it's probably just a bad translation. With family members, just gives you the option of picking one of 4 different players, including Eagle, and all 4 golfers play the course, 3 computer players and yourself. The driving range is just that. The game gives you 100 balls to whack and off you go. Even if you don't make contact with the ball, they still chalk it up as a hit, which is good. You can just keep tapping the button to get through it. Assuming you have the patience to shoot all 100 balls, your character kind of levels up and will be able to hit the ball a little bit farther in the actual game. It's probably worth the 10 minutes and constant button tapping. Maybe now is a good time to note the music composing team. 3 composers were credited with working on the project. Despite having a team of composers, the game only has 2 different songs you can listen to when golfing. An upbeat track and a more relaxing, softer one, which you can toggle through in an in-game menu accessed by pressing the select button. I actually like both songs. They kind of remind me of some of the music from SimCity. Including the title screen music and select screen music, I think there is only a total of 4 tracks in the whole game. So perhaps they could have slimmed down the composing team a bit and put more resources into the game itself. I don't think there's much more to say about Mecarobot Golf. Not being an enthusiast of golf games to begin with, outside of Hot Shots Golf, of course, I guess it's good enough. It was obviously an attempt at a cash grab by reskinning an existing game with a sci-fi character and trying to pawn it off on early 90s North American consumers. Sports games weren't really huge for the SNES anyways. That was more of Genesis's territory in the 90s. One baseball game I did actually play to nausea in the 90s was called Baseball Simulator 1.000. I have never been much of a baseball fan, but Baseball Sim had a bunch of super moves inserted into the game. Super pitches, super hits. It was baseball, but like a fun video game superhero sci-fi version of baseball. When I saw Mecarobot Golf, I kind of expected something like that. Super clubs, special shots, super moves, etc., etc. Instead, you found yourself playing a game that is as fun as being a teenager and watching your dad golf on a Saturday morning. I like to think every game or concept has potential to be something awesome, and it's just a matter of follow through, the right people, and a budget to see it to the end. One or all of these elements were missing this time, I guess. If you are a sucker for punishment, then give it a try and join old Eagle on the green and see what you got. If not, then maybe let this one pass you by and chalk it up as a mulligan.